There are many people who live in Thailand who have been sending constant updates, expressing genuine surprise and even a bit of concern about the state of the auto industry. They keep repeating the same sentiment. Sam, something crazy is happening in Thailand. Toyota is rapidly losing market share. Isuzu too, which many believe to be under Toyota's wing, is also seeing serious decline. They're not exaggerating. The speed of shift is astonishing. The Chinese automaker bid is taking over, not just in China, but in Thailand and across Southeast Asia. And the numbers don't lie. Every year there's major automotive events in Thailand where consumers gather and place pre-orders. This is a long-standing tradition in the region. It's not a small-scale affair. We're talking tens of thousands of vehicles being ordered during this single event. This year, though, there's been a dramatic shift. Chinese car brands dominated the event, with BYD leading the charge. They significantly outperformed Japanese automakers, including Toyota, in terms of order volume. This is a clear sign that consumer preference is changing rapidly. The legacy dominance of Japanese brands in Southeast Asia are being chipped away. Traditionally, Southeast Asia has been a Japanese stronghold when it comes to cars. If you visited the region even a year ago, nearly every vehicle on the road would likely be a Toyota, Honda, Mitsubishi, or another Japanese marquee. That's still largely true today, but there are clear cracks forming in the decades-old foundation. Several Japanese auto factories in Thailand are either downsizing, shutting down, or being replaced by Chinese car manufacturing facilities. The consumers, too, are responding to the change with enthusiasm. They're impressed by the quality, features, and crucially, the price points of these Chinese electric vehicles. Many are now buying Chinese cars en masse, shifting their loyalty away from the historically dominant Japanese brands. And this isn't just a small or temporary trend. It signals something much bigger, a major structural shift in the regional auto market. This growing trend poses a serious existential threat to Japan. The reason is that Japan is the most heavily dependent nation in the world on the auto industry. No other country has much of its GDP tied to vehicle manufacturing, even Germany, a global auto powerhouse with giants like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and more. And they don't rely on the auto sector to the extent that Japan does. In Japan, the car industry isn't just big, it's massive. It supports a significant chunk of the national economy, including manufacturing jobs, export, R&D, and more. Any disruptions in the global perception of sale performance of Japanese auto companies could therefore send shockwaves through Japan's broader economy. And unfortunately for Japan, its auto industry is showing trouble. Last year, Japanese car makers collectively saw a decline in global sales. Nissan, for example, is in dire straits. The company itself has acknowledged that it's facing a potential bankruptcy scenario. Mazda, Subaru, and other Japanese companies are also struggling to maintain their previous levels of performance. Sales are stagnating or declining, and they're getting hit with trade policies that are making exports less competitive. One such policy is the 25% tariff imposed by the U.S. The U.S. remains one of Japan's most vital auto markets, and the new financial burden could be devastating. Meanwhile, in China, the world's largest auto market, Japanese brands are steadily losing ground. They're being squeezed from every direction, squeezed in the Southeast Asia, squeezed in the US, and more. In all these regions, Chinese EV brands are launching competitively priced vehicles with solid quality, effectively undercutting Japanese offerings. The pressure is relentless. If we zoom in on China again, the numbers from March paint a stark picture. Despite widespread media claims of economic slowdowns and doom and gloom, China's financial state and Chinese car sales in March 2025 rose by over 30%. This goes directly against predictions from so-called experts and YouTubers who have been forecasting a dramatic fall in China's auto market. These predictions, it turns out, were off base. Yeah, government stimulus is helping maintain demand, but that's nothing new. China has been actively supporting its auto industry, especially EVs, for over 2 decades. Stimulus isn't a temporary measure, it's an integrated part of their long-term strategy. And now let's look at the numbers from the top 10 car makers in China. BYD is far away the market leader, selling nearly 290,000 vehicles in March alone, a commanding 15% market share. Their sale rose 11.5%, but another Chinese company, Geely, or Geely as some pronounce it, is growing even faster. Geely's sales shot up by a staggering 70.5% year over year, giving them a 10.1% market share. It's plausible that Geely could become the world's second largest automaker by 2030. Meanwhile, legacy automakers are struggling. Volkswagen and FAW, a joint venture between Volkswagen and state-owned Chinese companies, holds 6.7% of the market. But their sales dropped by 7.8%. This means that in relative terms, their performance is dismal. Chery, another Chinese automaker, also saw impressive growth, up 58.6% thanks largely to their expanding EV lineup. Others like Changan and SGMW, a joint venture between SAIC GM and Wuling, also posted solid numbers. Even Tesla saw growth, up 18.8% with 74,000 sales for the month. While competition is intense, Tesla remains a notable player, especially with reports suggesting over 100,000 pre-orders from their new Model Y refresh in China. By contrast, Toyota's Chinese joint ventures are further down the list, their sales increasingly modest. up 22.6 and 19.3% respectively, but that's all below the 33% average growth across the market. This means they're technically underperforming. To make matters worse, Toyota's aggressively cutting prices to remain competitive. They've started rebadging GAC Aeon EVs and selling them as Toyotas for as low as $14,000. That's less than the cost of a base model gasoline sedan in many Western markets. This is especially concerning given Toyota's financial exposure. The company has over $200 billion in debt, more than any other car maker in the world, and it's mostly classified as bad debt, meaning it isn't tied to profitable ventures or secure assets. Domestic Chinese brands, meanwhile, are on fire. In March alone, they sold 1.22 million, a 31% increase from the year before, accounting for over 62.7% of the Chinese market. In contrast, legacy automakers, even though many are technically joint ventures with Chinese companies, only sold 480,000. That's a significant market share decline of 4%, with Japanese car makers taking the biggest hit. Honda, for example, saw its market share in China fall by 12.2%. This is a dramatic collapse in a single year. And this is just the beginning. With the US now imposing 25% tariffs on vehicles imported from countries like Japan, things are only going to get worse for Japanese automakers. Unlike German brands, many Japanese vehicles sold in the US are not assembled domestically, making them vulnerable to tariffs. Toyota alone sold 1 million imported cars in the US last year, many of which are now subject to the new tariff. This combination of pressure, declining market share in China, trade barriers in the US, and fierce competition in Southeast Asia are all creating a perfect storm. The Japanese auto industry is being squeezed on all fronts. The coming years are likely to bring major declines in the stock valuations of Japanese car makers, as well as broader consequences for Japan's economy. The implications are serious, with Japan already being the most indebted country in the world, carrying more government debt than any country in recorded history. The collapse or severe weakening of one of its core industries could trigger massive economic fallout. We're looking at a potentially irreversible decline, with cascading effects on employment, national revenue, and even geopolitical influence. In summary, the Japanese auto industry is facing an existential crisis. Its market dominance in Asia is evaporating, its core markets like the US are becoming hostile due to trade policies, and its debt levels are unsustainable. Meanwhile, Chinese automakers are aggressively expanding with superior products, better pricing, and stronger growth trajectories. This is not just a business story. It's a geopolitical and economic shift that could reshape Asia's industrial landscape for decades to come.